What's up, everybody? It's Onorato and Company on News Channel 13's Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. The KPM restoration rapid reaction a day after the NFL trade deadline, where we saw the most trades at a deadline in history.
Oh, really?
Well, I believe it was tied. It was tied.
I was going to say it felt like a lot.
We are now 3 games into the World Series, and we know for sure who's going to win the thing. And an NBA coach has already been fired, and one has been suspended for the year, but is about to be hired again.
Now going to have a new job.
This Onorato and Company Rapid Reaction is presented by KPM Restoration.
Jamie Kennedy, our guy up at KPM Restoration, and the sponsor here, of course, with Onorato and Company's rapid reaction each and every single week. Big things going on in the world of sports. We are going to take care of them here on Onorato and Company. A lot to digest on the screen here. There were a bunch of trades. There have been 19 since kind of the beginning of the year. So if you want to take into account like Kadarius Toney going to Kansas City, Christian McCaffrey going to San Francisco, that is in the group. But there were 10 yesterday at the deadline. Here are a couple of the highlights, a handful of the highlights, and then we'll talk about some of the others that also were grabbing headlines. But Buffalo gets the top billing here because they're one of the best teams in the NFL, and they added the running back stable, which they needed. Devin Singletary, but they needed a guy like Nyheim Hines from Indianapolis, a receiving back, third down guy. I think he helps this offense tremendously.
Yeah, I think so too. And I told you I liked Zach Moss, but Hines is a little bit more versatile. And honestly, Devin Singletary is a pretty good receiving back from my perspective. So I was kind of surprised that there was such a huge emphasis on receiving. I was like, well, Singletary does a lot of that. But now you've got 2 guys who can do that.
All right. Keith says Hines better than Chubb. Now, is Keith talking Nick Chubb? Or is he talking Bradley Chubb? I think he's talking Bradley Chubb because this is now the argument here is like which AFC East team had the more impactful move. Was it Miami getting Bradley Chubb? They're going to work out a long-term deal with the outside linebacker from Denver. Or is it Nick Chubb, who's a stud of a running back? I think he's arguing the case for Hines being better than Bradley Chubb here.
Yeah,
the move. Yes. You know what? I don't think he's wrong. That Hines is going to play a bigger factor this season for the Bills than Chubb will for the Dolphins.
Yeah, maybe, but
I could buy that.
It a bigger position of need for the Dolphins? I say yes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like they needed a linebacker more than the Bills needed a running back. To me, that's why it's a bigger move for the Dolphins. Maybe Hines has more of an effect on the Bills, though.
Sneaky one is Hawkinson to Minnesota.
Like
as soon as I saw it, I thought, bad on you, Detroit.
Yeah,
bad on you. Minnesota's already going to win the division. They're 6-1. We don't have to help the Vikings advance farther into the playoffs. Bad on Detroit. They don't know what they're doing with the line. I just can't get down with what the Lions have done. But I think it's a great get for Minnesota. They had an injury to Irv Smith. He's going to miss multiple weeks at the tight end position. The Vikings are not bad. I'm not going to say they're good.
I'm not ready to say they're good either.
But they're not bad, and I like the move for Hawkinson here to keep giving Kirk Cousins as many weapons as possible. Keith went on to say, give up a lot. Yeah, they give up a lot for Bradley Chubb. I don't disagree. I also thought that the Ravens gave up quite a bit for Roquan Smith, but we'll get to that in a moment. What's the most impactful move? Well, I put my answer in here, so let me edit it, and I'll let you answer on the fly. What's the most impactful move from yesterday? I'm going to go a couple days back.
Yeah,
Roquan Smith to Baltimore. This was a defense that needed physicality. Smith brings it. Leading tackler in the NFL. Baltimore now, especially with the way we've seen teams like Cincinnati in that division struggle, certainly the favorites to win the AFC North. This now makes them better equipped to win a game, not multiple games, but one game in the playoffs at least.
Yeah, listen, I love this move. And the thing for me with the Bears is he wanted out anyway. So, you give up a lot, but you're getting a guy who was a first-round draft pick, who is a game changer on the defensive side of the ball. I love this move. I also don't hate the move that the Bears made to go get Chase Claypool. This is a young quarterback in Justin Fields that kind of like the situation in Minnesota, just throw as many weapons at him as you possibly can, because we've seen him really struggle, but adding Claypool to that mix, I think, is big for him. It's just another weapon, and maybe that helps that team kind of get things going.
Rumors that the Packers were interested in Chase Claypool. They should have been, certainly. I don't know how much they would have been willing to get for him. But yeah, everything you heard yesterday was Justin Fields has shown in the last few weeks that he's coming around a little bit. Mm-hmm. So go get him some weapons. Claypool wanted out of Pittsburgh the same way Smith wanted out of Chicago. It made sense here. Calvin Ridley suspended for the year. What a BS suspension, but suspended for the year. So Atlanta says, okay, you're going to Jacksonville. You just made all the points that I would make about Ridley to Jacksonville. The Jaguars are saying, okay, Trevor, we're going to give you some weapons. Here's a guy, Calvin Ridley, who wasn't performing up to potential in Atlanta. Let's see if a change of scenery helps him. Let's see if a different quarterback helps him. And let's see maybe if a guy like Ridley going into next year brings Lawrence up a notch.
But to me, even just comparing these two, Calvin Ridley's potential and what we saw in him from college even, his potential, I think, is beyond Claypool. So I think if a healthy with it, if your mind is there, Calvin Ridley, I think he can elevate that squad. And we've talked about this. The Jags are talented, and they're probably underachieving from what they should based on all the talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They have a ton of talent, but they're just going to, like you said, they're going to keep throwing weapons at them. And at some point, you've got to be able to blame something else other than, we don't have, the players that we should in order to succeed. They're going to have the players they should.
They work to rebuild the offensive line. Travis Etienne has taken over the number one running back position. Yes, things are coming together in Jacksonville. At some point, they're going to have to start winning. Jason wants to know if we're hiring.
Well,
now,
if you
Jay,
can make
here's
better
the deal.
picks than us,
a lot of people would tell you that you should replace us. That may be in the cards one day. Phillies, are they in full command of the World Series now? They're up 2-1. They hit 5 home runs in Game 3. That ties a World Series record.
Dominated.
I can't believe they only scored 7 runs. That really messed up my over-under of 7.5. But are they now in full command of this World Series, or are you still giving Houston a chance?
No, I mean, I think you can be in full command and still give Houston a chance. They're going to play the next 2 at home, right?
Is the series over?
No. Okay. No. Because at some point you're going to throw Verlander again, and you're going to throw
Justin. This is a mind-blowing stat to me.
Wasn't good.
He is 0-6 in 8 World Series starts.
Yeah.
0-6.
Yeah.
And not like, well, wins and losses don't matter, Onorato. They do when it's 6 of 8. It's not like he's 0-2 in 8 starts. When he starts a World Series game, that guy loses and his team loses. This is unbelievable to me. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And he may go into the Hall of Fame with 0 World Series victories to his name. That's crazy to me.
He's going to be the Cy Young winner this year. To me, I'd throw his record of World Series. If you're in the biggest game of the season, whether it's, I guess, would he throw Game 5
Game
for them?
5.
Because of the rain out, that helps.
So here you go. Here's the World Series schedule. Game 4 is tonight. It's Christian Javier versus Aaron Nola. Then you get Verlander, Syndergaard in game. Oh, I'm sorry. This is 4 and 5.
Yep, I get that.
Yep, 4 and 5.
Because of the rain out, we flip it a little bit. I just think in a big game, I still want him going. I don't care if he's 0-50.
I get it.
The way he threw this year, if he pulls that out, we're back to square one. But that offense
series is over.
Crushing.
It's over. Series
that
is
offense
over.
is crushing.
Yep. If Houston is, I just don't think they get back to Houston.
So you think they win the next?
Yes. Show me something from this postseason that leads you to believe the Phillies are going to lose at home. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I know.
They won both games against the Braves. Didn't lose to the Padres. They don't lose at home. Listen, they score a ton of runs at home.
Before this series, I gave them a chance, and I said they're the hottest team in baseball. I think, and you were out on that. You went with your kind of lean toward the Astros. I said the Astros in 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still think
I said
I still thought
6,
they had a legit chance because they're the hottest team in baseball. They have continued to prove that is the case.
There were a couple of fence scrapers last night. Schwarber and Harper hit absolute
Yeah,
bombs.
I mean, those weren't coming back.
The Hoskins and Boehm homers were.
But it was 7-0. It's not like that mattered. We're complaining about the size of the stadium. Houston didn't score any runs anyway. If it was 4-3 or something, well, then I want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Okay. I say the series is over. I know, and I'm the guy who picked Houston and watched.
Yeah,
Javier will spin a gem tonight, and I'll be on the other side of it. That they're going to go back home and now they'll win the thing.
I still say, I mean, even if Houston wins Game 2 tonight, Philly to me, I feel Philly, but I think Houston has a chance. That's a team that's just too good to not have a chance.
They win. Philly wins tonight, though, don't they? It's NOLA. They're at home. Like it just all lines up to being up 3-1. Messing around with Syndergaard in 5, and I've still got Wheeler ready to go and get. I don't know. Here was
a lot of good stuff.
Here was a shock to Kevin Durant,
I got this
but nobody else on the planet.
I got this alert on my phone.
Kevin Durant was the only guy who was surprised that Steve Nash was out in Brooklyn, and they mutually part ways with Steve, which I believe. I think Nash was like, I am done with this circus, and I think the Nets were also like, this just isn't working, Steve. So, okay. And they had conversations with Ime Udoka behind Steve Nash's back. That's the way it works.
Right. Because 12 hours later,
and then
5 hours later, it was like, oh, by the way, our new coach is going to be Ime.
So I don't have much more to say here other than it's a failed experiment with Nash, the same way it was a failed experiment with Harden, the same way it is going to eventually be a failed experiment at the end of it all with Durant and Kyrie. Period.
It's a disaster.
Period. The Brooklyn Nets organization has no clue what it's doing. Ime Udoka's not going to come in there and save it. They don't play defense. They don't make outside shots. This is a bad team. It's a bad roster. It's run by two superstars who are clowns.
You don't want to root for them.
There's no way.
Yeah, it's ugly there. Ugly.
Okay, that's all we've got on that then.
Who's going to be the next Boston coach? Brad Stevens, go back. Hey, Brad, come back down to the bench. We need you.
Did Larry Bird do that at one point with the Pacers? Did he go up and then back down? I can't remember. He was down and then up, and then I can't remember if he ever came back down. Maybe Quinn Snyder. Maybe they stick with the guy they've got now. Maybe Steve Nash likes Boston.
Could you imagine? Just switch them. Yeah, we're just going to do a coach trade. That's what they should have done from the get-go.
Oh, my goodness. All right, we are back with you tomorrow morning. That's Thursday morning, 10 a.m. We've got Pro Football Hall of Famer Alan Faneca on the show, a great with the Steelers and the Jets. We'll talk with the Firewolves as well, Jackson Nishimura. We will give our NFL picks, although after last week you don't want them.
Yeah. No, we're not saying bet them. We're just giving them.
There you go. Right.
Do not put money on my picks.
No.
I don't want to be responsible for that.
That's right. Entertainment purposes only here on Onorato and Company. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you Thursday morning at 10. And, of course, those 2 chances to watch us on TV over the weekends, Saturday nights at 6, Sunday mornings at 6.